So, you know how much I love a good historical what if, right?
Oh yeah, you and me both.
So today, we are diving headfirst into one of the biggest what ifs out there, the British Empire, right at its peak, versus the unstoppable force that was the Mongol Empire.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Two completely different styles of empire, completely different eras. Where do we even start?
Well, luckily, some amazing sources we can dig into have tackled this exact question.
Get me.
So the first thing that jumps out is this. The Mongols were the ultimate land conquerors, hands down.
Right, like nobody messed with the Mongols on land.
But, and it's a big but, the Brits had this whole, modern firepower thing going on, and don't forget about their navy.
So land versus sea, old school versus new school. This is
Yeah.
getting good.
Exactly. But before we jump into how those differences might have played out, we got to give credit where credit's due. The Mongol war machine was nothing short of incredible. I mean, we're talking about an empire built on horseback.
Absolutely. The speed and maneuverability of the Mongol armies, it was legendary.
Right. It's almost impossible to overstate how much ground they covered. Most of Asia, a big chunk of Europe,
Yeah.
all on horseback.
And it wasn't just about being like the fastest horse in the race. They were masters of strategy. They used everything at their disposal. The terrain, the weather, even fear itself.
Okay, you're going to have to give me an example. How did they actually use that stuff in battle?
Well, take the siege of Baghdad in 1258. They wanted to break through the city's defenses, so what did? They diverted the Tigris River, literally flooded the city.
Whoa, that's next level thinking right there.
Exactly. And kind of brutal, to be honest. They used captured enemy soldiers as human shields in the initial attack waves.
Wow. Okay, so psychologically, that's terrifying and effective. Clearly, nobody was messing with the Mongols on a battlefield. But like you said, we're talking about two completely different eras here. How would those Mongol tactics have held up against, say, a cannon?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about horses and composite bows versus gunpowder.
Apples and oranges.
Exactly. And we haven't even gotten to British Navy, which was arguably their biggest advantage. They could control the seas, which meant controlling trade routes, cutting off supplies, you name it. Remember that siege tactic we talked about?
The flooding.
Yep. Now imagine the British blockading Baghdad's port. No supplies, no reinforcements. That changes things.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not just about who has the better army or the scarier weapons. It's about who can outlast the other.
Right.
Bingo. And that's where the British Empire had a trump card. Industrial capacity. They could churn out weapons and ammo like nobody's business. They had factories, they had resources, they had a global network.
So it sounds like it's advantage.
Right.
Britain.
Based on the sources, yeah, probably. But never underestimate the Mongols' ability to adapt. I mean, these were people who incorporated gunpowder technology into their own armies eventually. So who's to say they wouldn't have found a way to level the playing field, even against an enemy as advanced as the British?
Okay, that's a little terrifying. So we've got military might, we've got technology, but we're still missing a huge piece of the puzzle, right?
Exactly. Because it wasn't just about how these empires fought wars, but how they interacted with the world. The Mongols had a reputation for, well, at least relative tolerance.
Right. They allowed conquered people to largely keep their own religions and customs. They were all about incorporating those conquered people into their empire. So could that have played a role? Could they have used diplomacy or cultural exchange to their advantage against the British?
Fascinating. We've covered military strategy, technological advancements, and even the cultural dynamics at play. It's amazing to think about how these two very different empires might have interacted. But here's one final thought before we wrap things up. What if the real battle wasn't fought on the battlefield at all? What if it all came down to diplomacy? The Mongols were known for their negotiation skills, for their ability to forge alliances. Could they have outmaneuvered the British in the political arena? Just something to consider. This has been an incredible deep dive, and thanks to everyone for joining us.